The pain didn't come from strangers. That's what made it unbearable. It came from someone Samuel trusted. Someone he prayed with. Someone he defended when others walked away. The betrayal didn't just break his heart, it shattered his understanding of love, loyalty, and faith. Years later, the wound is still alive. Samuel moves through life carrying it quietly, like a hidden scar no one can see but everyone feels. He smiles in public, but at night the memories return uninvited. Words spoken. Promises broken. The moment everything changed. Forgiveness feels impossible, almost insulting. Why should I forgive someone who never apologized? He thinks. At church, the pastor reads, "Forgive, as the Lord forgave you." The words hit Samuel like a weight. Forgive? He clenches his fists. They don't know what it cost him. They don't know the sleepless nights, the anger, the bitterness that now feels safer than healing. Bitterness, at least, feels like control. He opens his Bible later that night, not looking for answers, just distraction. His eyes fall on Jesus hanging on the cross, saying, "Father, forgive them." Samuel quickly looks away. That kind of forgiveness feels unreachable. Divine. Unreal. He whispers, "God, I can obey you in many things, but not this." Silence answers him. Yet deep inside, he feels something unsettling. This pain is not just hurting him, it's shaping him. Hardening him. And for the first time, Samuel wonders if unforgiveness is not protecting him anymore, but imprisoning him. The question lingers in the room, heavy and unavoidable. What if forgiveness isn't for the one who hurt him, but for the one slowly being destroyed by the hurt? Morning light slips through the curtains, but Samuel feels no warmth. The weight he carried to bed followed him into the new day. Forgiveness still echoes in his mind, unwanted and unresolved. He prepares for work mechanically, his body moving while his heart remains stuck in yesterday's pain. The wound may be old, but it refuses to fade. On the bus, Samuel watches people laugh, talk, live freely. He wonders how many of them are carrying silent grudges like his. A verse from Sunday school resurfaces against his will. A bitter root grows deep and defiles many. He tries to shake it off. Bitterness, to him, feels justified. Necessary. Without it, the pain would feel unprotected. Later that afternoon, Samuel overhears two co-workers talking about reconciliation. One says, "I forgave him, not because he deserved it, but because I was tired of being angry." The words strike Samuel harder than he expects. Tired. That's exactly how he feels. Tired of replaying the betrayal. Tired of carrying resentment like a second heartbeat. That evening, Samuel prays, but not the way he used to. There are no polished words, no faith-filled declarations. Just honesty. God, I don't want to forgive. I know what your word says, but my heart refuses to agree. His voice cracks. He expects condemnation. Instead, he feels an unfamiliar calm. In the silence, a gentle thought presses into his spirit, not a command, but a question: what if forgiveness is a process, not a moment? Samuel exhales slowly. For the first time, he realizes God is not rushing him. God is inviting him. He opens his Bible again and reads about Joseph, betrayed by his own brothers, yet later able to say, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." Samuel closes the book, overwhelmed. He's not there yet. Not even close. But something has shifted. He is no longer fighting the idea of forgiveness with anger, only with fear. And fear, he is beginning to see, might finally be losing its grip. Samuel thought distance would weaken the memory. He was wrong. Healing has a way of stirring what we try to bury. On an ordinary afternoon, he sees a familiar name on his phone, the very person who caused the wound. His chest tightens. His hands tremble. The past rushes back without warning. The betrayal replays itself clearly, the trust, the closeness, the moment it all collapsed. Anger rises fast. Forgiveness suddenly feels foolish and unsafe. Fear whispers, "This is why you hold on." Samuel turns away, fighting the urge to rebuild his walls higher. A memory surfaces, King David, holding Saul's spear, choosing not to strike back. Not because Saul deserved mercy, but because David trusted God with justice. That night, Samuel dreams he is carrying a heavy load, struggling to walk. A voice asks, "Why are you still carrying what I already offered to take?" He wakes shaken. In prayer, he finally admits the truth, "God, I'm afraid that if I forgive, what they did will feel justified." The fear is raw. Honest. In the silence, a truth settles gently in his heart. Forgiveness does not deny the wrong, it releases the weight. Samuel realizes forgiveness is not pretending, forgetting, or excusing. It is choosing to stop bleeding internally for someone else's sin. The memory still hurts, but it no longer controls him. The past returned, but it did not win. For the first time, Samuel sees forgiveness not as weakness, but as a doorway to freedom he is slowly learning to approach. Days pass, but something inside Samuel has changed. The anger no longer screams, it waits. Quieter now, but still present. He notices it in small moments, when a song reminds him of the past, when a familiar place tightens his chest, when his mind rehearses conversations that will never happen. The wound is still there, but it no longer feels untouchable. One evening, Samuel sits alone with his Bible open, not searching for comfort but for courage. His eyes land on Jesus' words, "If you bring your gift to the altar and remember that your brother has something against you," he stops reading. The verse feels too close. Too personal. God is not demanding an apology from the other person. God is asking something from him. Samuel whispers, "I don't feel ready." The answer in his spirit is gentle but firm, "You don't forgive because you feel ready. You forgive because I am with you." He thinks of Jesus in Gethsemane, afraid, overwhelmed, yet still choosing obedience. Even Jesus asked for the cup to pass, but he didn't walk away. Samuel realizes courage has never meant the absence of fear. It has always meant obedience in spite of it. With trembling hands, Samuel prays a prayer he never thought he could say. "God, I choose to forgive. Not because it doesn't hurt, but because I don't want this pain to rule me anymore." Nothing dramatic happens. No lightning. No instant relief. But something unseen breaks. A chain loosens. The bitterness that once felt protective now feels unnecessary. Samuel exhales deeply, as if releasing a breath he's held for years. The decision doesn't erase the memory, but it changes its power. Forgiveness has begun, not as a feeling, but as an act of faith. And for the first time in a long while, Samuel senses it clearly. God has been waiting here all along, not to force forgiveness, but to walk him through it. Samuel thought forgiveness would make everything lighter immediately. It doesn't. In fact, some days feel heavier. Choosing forgiveness has exposed the pain instead of hiding it. Old emotions rise unexpectedly, sadness, grief, even anger he thought was gone. He begins to understand why Jesus said forgiveness would cost something. It always does. One afternoon, Samuel hears that the person who hurt him is doing well. Successful. Unbothered. The news stings. A familiar voice whispers, "See? They moved on. You're the only one paying the price." For a moment, regret creeps in. Was forgiveness a mistake? He opens his Bible again and reads about Jesus being mocked, beaten, misunderstood, yet still choosing love. No apology. No recognition. Just obedience. Samuel realizes something painful but freeing: forgiveness does not guarantee fairness. It releases the need for it. That night, Samuel kneels and says, "God, this hurts more than holding on." In the quiet, a truth settles in his heart: holding on was slowly killing you. Forgiveness is not a single decision, it is a daily surrender. Each day, Samuel must choose again to let go of the offense, to resist the urge to replay the story, to trust God with justice. Some days he succeeds. Some days he struggles. But each time, the weight grows a little lighter. He begins to notice small changes. His prayers feel less forced. His sleep deeper. His heart softer. The wound still exists, but it no longer bleeds constantly. Samuel learns this hard truth: forgiveness costs pride, control, and the right to revenge. But what it gives in return is something bitterness never could: peace. And slowly, quietly, healing continues its work. Samuel doesn't notice the healing at first. It doesn't arrive like a sudden miracle or an emotional wave. It comes quietly, in ordinary moments. One morning he wakes up and realizes he slept through the night without replaying the betrayal. Another day he laughs, genuinely, without guilt or effort. These small signs surprise him more than a dramatic change ever could. At church, a message is preached on restoration. Normally, Samuel would have tuned out, guarding his heart. This time, the words reach him. God heals what we are willing to place in his hands. Samuel feels a tightening in his chest, followed by relief. He finally understands he didn't heal himself by forgiving. God did the healing once he stopped resisting. Later that week, Samuel runs into someone who reminds him of the person who hurt him. His body braces for pain, but it doesn't come the same way. There is a memory, yes, but no surge of anger. No rush of bitterness. Just awareness. He stands there, stunned. Something that once controlled him has lost its power. In prayer that night, Samuel says, "God, I didn't think forgiveness would change me this much." A gentle assurance fills his heart: you were never meant to carry that weight. Samuel realizes forgiveness didn't erase the past, it redeemed it. What once defined his pain now testifies to God's faithfulness. The wound that shaped his fear is now shaping his compassion. He listens more. He judges less. He loves deeper. Healing, he learns, is not the absence of scars, but the presence of freedom. And for the first time in a long while, Samuel is no longer surviving his story. He is living again. Weeks pass, and Samuel begins to notice a change beyond his own heart. Conversations at work, church, and even casual meetings feel different. He no longer carries the weight of anger or suspicion into interactions. His calm, quiet strength starts to draw people in. Others notice the peace he now wears like armor, though it feels fragile to him. One evening, after Bible study, a younger man approaches Samuel. His eyes are filled with pain, guilt, and hesitation. I've been hurt. I don't know how to forgive, he admits. Samuel feels the old familiar fear stirring. He remembers how heavy unforgiveness once was. But instead of retreating, he speaks from experience. I know how impossible it feels. But forgiveness isn't for them, it's for you. It frees you from the chains of bitterness. He tells his story: the betrayal, the anger, the fear, the struggle, and finally, the choice to let go. The young man listens, riveted, eyes widening as he realizes he is not alone in his pain. Samuel doesn't embellish. He doesn't pretend it was easy. He only tells the truth. The choice to forgive is the choice to live. As he finishes, the man nods slowly. Relief floods his face. Samuel notices the quiet ripple that forms when pain shared meets hope shared. He sees that forgiveness doesn't only heal the forgiver, it has a power to inspire others to step toward freedom. Later that night, Samuel kneels in prayer. He whispers, "God, I never imagined my pain could become someone else's hope." A sense of gratitude fills him. The wound that once defined him now serves a greater purpose. He finally understands the unseen ways God works through surrendered hearts. Forgiveness, he realizes, is not just a gift, it is a testimony. And in that testimony, Samuel finds purpose he thought was lost forever. The sun rises softly over the city, painting golden streaks across Samuel's room. He sits by the window, holding his Bible, feeling a calm he hasn't known in years. The wound that once consumed him still exists, but it no longer rules his heart. Forgiveness has done more than release the other person, it has restored him. Samuel reflects on the journey, the pain, the anger, the nights of tears, the fear of letting go, and the courage it took to choose obedience. He remembers the moments he almost gave up, the temptation to hold on to bitterness, and the quiet nudges from God guiding him forward. Every step has brought him closer to peace, closer to God's purpose for his life. He steps outside, breathing deeply, feeling the weight lift further with every step. The world hasn't changed, betrayal still exists, injustice still happens, but Samuel sees it differently now. He is free from the chains of resentment that once imprisoned him. The past no longer dictates his future. Walking through the park, he notices people laughing, couples holding hands, children playing. A smile spreads across his face, genuine and unforced. Samuel realizes that forgiveness is more than a decision, it's a daily choice that transforms the heart and life itself. Later that evening, in quiet prayer, he thanks God, "Thank you for teaching me to forgive, even when it felt impossible. Thank you for restoring me, even when I didn't understand." Peace settles deeply within him. He is not just healed, he is renewed. The camera pans upward, showing Samuel standing strong, looking toward the horizon, a man no longer defined by the past but empowered by faith, forgiveness, and God's grace. End scene. Samuel's journey shows that the true miracle of forgiveness is not only the release of pain, but the restoration of the soul, and the freedom to walk boldly into God's plan.